For Berliners, Tiergarten Park is the city's green lung, closer to the city center and bordering such major sites as the Brandenburg Gate or Potsdamer Platz. The forested grounds cover a spreading 210 hectares, nearly 519 acres, slightly more than Hyde Park in London. I'm glad that Berlin has this huge park, the Großer Tiergarten. Only Tempelhofer is larger in area, but you can't compare the two parks at all. Tiergarten Park is very much at the heart of Berlin life, attracting joggers, skaters, cyclists and walkers, as well as those who just want to relax in the sun. The park's spreading green lawns are popular for family picnics, ball games, or simply unwinding and taking it easy. An ideal place to recharge your batteries on a break from some serious shopping or seeing the sights. I drive through the paths in the Tiergarten on my bicycle more days a week. It's much more pleasant than driving the Straße des 17. Juni. You could take different paths depending on your mood. It's nice every season. It's not a forest, but a large park with various horticultural themes. What I find nice is that this facility still conveys something of the swampy that Berlin and the surrounding area used to be. If you compare the maps from 1833 and today, you can see that the basic structure is quite well preserved, although Tiergarten has undergone several major renovations. Once Berlin streets were lit with 2,055 gas lanterns, and in some areas there still are. To commemorate this historical form of street lighting, one of the most unusual museums in Berlin, the Gas Lantern Museum, was established close to Tiergarten S-Bahn station in 1978. The collection, which is permanently open to visitors, comprises nearly 100 gas lanterns, both originals and replicas, from Berlin and 36 German and European cities. The museum has the largest collection of its kind in Europe. The oldest dates back to 1826. Some of them have very peculiar names like Wilmersdorfer Widow, Copper's Leg, Bishop's Crook, Great Gallows, Small Charlottenburg Gallows. When dusk falls, the lanterns are switched on, lighting up the paths in the park with their soft yellow light. Located in the heart of Tiergarten Park, the enchanting Louiseninsel offers a tranquil oasis of natural beauty and historical significance. The Louiseninsel was founded in the 19th century during the reign of Kong Friedrich William III and Queen Louise, originally conceived as a symbol of love and devotion to the Queen. The island was named after her. The picturesque landscapes, tranquil lakes and lush green spaces were created to provide an idyllic escape from the pressures of the city. One of the main attractions of Louiseninsel is its breathtaking natural beauty. As you walk along the island's well-manicured paths, colorful flower beds will surround you, as well as towering trees and manicured lawns. The island is home to a variety of plant and animal species, making it a paradise for nature lovers. The centerpiece of the island is the iconic Louisen Monument, a monument dedicated to Queen Louise herself. The statue shows her in a royal pose, commemorating her lasting influence on the city. Gustav Albert Lortzing, born in Berlin in 1801, was a German composer, librettist, actor, and singer. He is considered to be the main representative of German Spieloper, a form of comic opera. He wrote the oratorio The Ascension of Christ, as well as the Singspiel Ali Pasha by Janina and the French in Albania. In the middle of the large tea garden, close to the Lortzing Memorial, lies the Rose Garden, which was created in 1909 by the rose breeder Peter Lambert. Like many other monuments, the Rose Garden fell victim to the heavy fighting in Berlin during the Second World War. It was not until 1974 that it was restored in a smaller form, and then sank into a deep slumber for decades until it was extensively restored in 2003. Somewhat hidden, the Rose Garden unfolds its splendor like a butterfly in the morning sun and makes this visit something very special. In the late 17th century, Friedrich III, the Elector of Brandenburg and Duke of Frisia, turned the former royal hunting grounds just outside the city into a park for the pleasure of the general population. Since then, Tiergarten Park has been redesigned a number of times, most substantially between 1833 and 1838. In this major makeover, Peter Joseph Lenné, Prussia's leading landscape gardener, drew his inspiration from English models to transform grounds and give the park the shape it still has today. Tiergarten is good for many tourists as well as Berliners. Here you can linger for a good half day and forget dwelling for a while. Here and there is something historical and pretty with many statues of famous Germans. Tiergarten Park was badly damaged during the Second World War, especially in the fierce fighting around Berlin in the last year of the war. but it also suffered dramatically in the wake of the war. Facing an acute lack of coal in winter 45-46, Berliners cut down what was left of the park's trees as fuel, nearly deforesting the entire area. Like most Berliners' damaged monuments, restoring got underway in 1949, focusing on restoring as much vegetation as possible, including wilder areas. Tiergarten Park was replanted with trees from 1949 onwards, largely thanks to many donations of trees from across Germany. The result is a park of great beauty with diverse landscapes to discover as one wanders its avenues, pathways, lawns and meadows. Ponds, landscaped gardens and flower beds with rhododendrons in bloom are legendary. Das Komponistendenkmal is an outdoor memorial of 1904 to the classical composers Ludwig van Beethoven, Joseph Haydn and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, designed by Rudolf and Wolfgang Siemering, is also located in Tiergarten. The monument was commissioned by Kaiser Wilhelm II. It suffered considerable damage during the Second World War and was only fully restored in 2005 and 2007. Tiergarten Park not only offers winding tree-lined paths, ponds and open green spaces, but also is home to many interesting memorials as well as cultural and political sites. In the northeastern end of the park lies Brandenburg Gate, an iconic place and the most visited tourist magnet in Berlin. Nearby you can find the Soviet War Memorial. Further into the park you will find the sculpture The Lion Group. It's a work from the last creative years of the animal sculptor Wilhelm Wolf. Immediately after its completion, the work was praised as a very successful work, so much that Emperor Wilhelm I had it erected in the Tiergarten. A couple of 100 meters further down the lane lies the Global Stone Peace Project. Global Stone is a work of art by Wolfgang Krake from Schwarzenfeld. Originally intended as a peace project, it consists of 5 stones or stone groups, each one characteristic from each of the Earth's 5 continents. Every stone or stone group has its counterpart in its original continent. The polished reflective surfaces of the stones are to be aligned in such a way that every year on the summer solstice, on June the 21st, the sun rays create a connection between the stones in the continents and their sister stones in Berlin, as well as between the 5 Berlin stones. This is intended to symbolize the solidarity of people all over the world. The Stone of Love, or Koekam, meaning grandma, installed on February 24, 1999, came from the Gran Sabana Nature Reserve in Venezuela, in the territory of the indigenous Pemon people, from where it was transported at the end of 1998. The stone had been subject of discussion since shortly after arrival. Finally, it was brought back to the indigenous people in 2020. This brought to an end of 22 years conflict and was based on an error. Wolfgang Krake von Schwarzenfeld sailed around the world with the 3-masted Pegasus, which he built himself 37 years ago. The sailing ship and the voyage became the basis for the idea of this project. The entire project is privately financed. In addition to Krake von Schwarzenfeld, a number of sponsors bear the enormous costs of the project. Erected 1901 to 1903, the Richard Wagner Monument was designed by sculptor Gustav Eberlein. Beneath the 2.7 meters high Pentelic marble statue of the composer are figures from his works. At the front is Wolfram von Eschenbach from Wagner's opera Tannhäuser, who was included in the monument at the express wish of Emperor William II. On the left, Tannhäuser in a penitential robe lies dying at the monument steps. On the right, Brunhilde holds the dead body of Siegfried. The figures at the rear are also Wagner's major opera cycle, Der Ring des Nibelungen. Alberich is gathering up the treasure, the Rheingold. But the damage and vandalism left the marks on the monument. Its condition in 1988 was so alarming that it was fitted with a protective canopy. Off we go to the next point of interest in this large park. I love bicycling in this area of the city. The air is much cleaner here than in the streets outside the park. Let's have a look here what we can find at Floraplatz. Created in the late 18th century, Floraplatz in the southeast of Berlin's Tiergarten has a history of over 200 years. The Baroque sculpture of Flora in the center of the square was replaced at the beginning of the 20th century by the Amazon on horseback by Louis Toyon. You also will find this wax sculpture of Roman goddess Flora by English sculptor Richard Cockle-Lucas, located in the Bode Museum in Berlin. Around 1905, at the request of Kaiser Wilhelm II, 8 life-size bronze animal sculptures of wild North American elmers were placed concentrically around the center of the square. The animal sculptures were copies of the sculptures created by the sculptor Rudolf Simmering for the George Washington Monument in Philadelphia, USA. Personally, I liked this sculpture of the resting moose. The Goethe Memorial, made of Carrara marble, stands on Eberstrasse, on the eastern edge of the Tiergarten, between the Brandenburg Gate and Linnéstrasse, opposite the memorial of the murdered Jews of Europe. It reaches a total height of 6 meters. The statue of the poet on a round pedestal is 2.7 meters high. 3 groups of figures are arranged on the step base. For lyrical poetry, a muse with a lyre and eros. For dramatic poetry, a seated female figure with a writing instrument. Next to her, a genius with a downward torch of death. For scientific research, a woman who reads. During the Second World War, the monument suffered some damage. It was restored several times, and the original was replaced with a concrete copy in 1987. In 2012, the much better preserved marble original was re-erected. There are also places to stop for a bite to eat, such as Café am Neuen See, Tea House in Englischer Garten, Schleusenkrug, and others. The tea house in Englischer Garten is located in the northern part of Tiergarten, in immediate vicinity of Bellevue Palace, the official residence of the federal president. Its history dates back to the early post-war period. In the 1950s, the British laid out the English garden and planted a number of plants and 5,000 trees to revive the Tiergarten, which had been largely destroyed in the Second World War. Queen Elizabeth II personally planted an American red oak during her visit in May 1965, which still stands there. The English Garden is a popular destination. The Tea House restaurant served fish and chips, English breakfast, Scottish eggs, Sunday roast, scones, but first of all, very strong Assam tea of different kinds. In September 2024, the historical thatched roof of the popular excursion restaurant was completely destroyed in a fire. Parts of the roof lie on the terrace. The ground floor was largely undamaged by the fire. It's still unknown what caused the fire. For a waterside location here in the middle of Berlin, the Café am Neuen See, to the south in Tiergarten, is set on the shore of a small lake. The café's beer garden is open almost all year round and serves freshly tapped beer, Bavarian and regional specialties. If it's too cold to enjoy sitting outside, you can warm yourself by the fire indoors. Berlin's probably most beautiful beer garden and café is popular for Berliners, and in the weekends it's packed with people. In summer you can rent a boat and row quietly along a small dam with a dense forest around. On foot or on the saddle of a bike, you should slow down and enjoy a little nature without leaving the city. The many colorful trees of the park in October is mesmerizing. Yellow, red, orange and brown is the true colors of autumn. People other than myself also seems to enjoy this, and I see a lot of people taking their daily walk or go by bike like me through the park.